Welcome to Monoreel Radio Dockside Chat number 44. I'm Sean.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are coming to you live from, and I say this a lot, but every time I say it, I mean it, a picturesque day at Disney Springs.
It truly, truly is. First of all, it's nice to be out during daylight hours for me, so this is a real treat. But it is so nice because we did get hit with a cold front these past couple of days, but especially because I've been working nights, I have been absolutely freezing. So it is so comfortable sitting here in 60, 70 degree weather.
It's about 70, yeah.
It's a lighter crew neck, but I'm comfortable. These days are so rare where you get to come out to the parks or to Springs and be in a hoodie during the day. In like fall clothes during the day.
I'm sitting here in a Tommy Bahama Island Zone quarter zip. So if you know the Island Zone, you know that it's not the athletic material, but it's a lighter material. So too light to wear in the winter, but it is more of like your spring or fall sort of attire. So super, super comfortable, enjoying sitting here in the sun.
I meant to tell you that the shirt was also very apropos for what we did today.
Absolutely.
It fit the vibe.
Yeah, more on that in a few minutes. But let's talk about the more pressing issues, such as this margarita. This is a flavor. Okay, so I got the seats. Jackie got online for the cocktails. And she said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I want the seasonal one as long as it's not spicy. If not, go for my sunset." Tried and true.
So I went up to the window, and mild panic ensued because there was no seasonal listed. I asked, though. Sometimes that's all you have to do is just ask. It's not that they don't have it, it's just that their signage was out of date. And this was sort of like the million-dollar question, right? Because Dockside will sometimes let their seasonal go and bleed into the next season. So I wasn't sure if we were going to have like a late Christmas or an early Valentine's Day.
And they usually, it's like, Chipotle pineapple. Throw Chipotle pineapple at it.
Exactly, which I'm never mad about, but that's kind of what I was expecting today. So I was pleasantly surprised when he said passion fruit. So let's give this a whirl, shall we?
Yes, stir
a little
it.
mix.
Yeah.
And a whirl.
After 44 of these plus vacations.
All right.
You think you'd learn.
I did. I learned in like the last two I mixed.
That's great. Passion fruit is a flavor we've not had before, so I'm super excited to try this.
I love the color, by the way.
It kind of has like that Valentine's Day, like not quite red, like a deep pink.
Coral.
Sure. Coral or salmon?
No, but that's exactly where I was going with that.
If you know, you know.
It was a lot deeper, but then he put it in...
The blender thing?
See, now I was going to say blender thing, and I thought you'd know more of a technical term for it.
No, it's basically a blender.
Like the Fribble machine.
Yeah, it's really
not
just a blender.
not a blender. It's just like a mixer. It's just it not in a shaker.
Yeah.
Because they don't have time. But let's try this finally.
Cheers. Ooh, yeah.
That is so refreshing. I love that.
I love it.
That's really good. Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
These cups seem smaller to you?
No. Nope. This is a 16-ounce cup.
I don't know about that.
It's definitely not smaller.
The prices have gone up slightly. Again, I mean, that's to be expected because price of groceries are always going up, but they're creeping up on the margaritas again.
I mean, it is what it is.
It's good, though.
I could get into a whole rant, but nobody wants to hear that. I do that enough on a daily basis when people look at our menu and go, "What about these prices?" And I'm like, don't get me started. I don't know. No, you know what I think it is? It's a thinner plastic cup, but it is still a 16-ounce cup. The size hasn't changed.
All right, but
it is thinner.
It feels different, though. I'm not crazy.
It feels flimsier. They've probably gone with a thinner plastic, and they're saying that it's more...
Something about my grip feels off, and we're going to get chewed out by you-know-who for noticing the most minute difference in the cups, but it's something about it is different.
Why don't we talk about the actual margarita now that we've gone through this mind-melding conversation about the cup?
I said it's delicious. I love it.
I like it. It's very refreshing. I'll jump to this and say it's one of the better ones I've had. In fact, I would say it's one of my favorites. But I do think that there is a bit of a palate adjustment that is necessary, because the first sip was a little tussany, but the finish, but that's passion fruit.
Yeah.
The finish was very tropical, kind of floral, like you expect in passion fruit. And then on the second sip I just had, it wasn't very tussany, so I'm going back.
Tussany, by the way, is the technical term for Robitussin in profile.
People know. By the third sip, I mean, that's gone, and it's just this, like, really beautiful, tropical, crisp. Yeah.
No.
It is a palate adjuster, but I find that with passion fruit, dragon fruit is another one, I feel like you need an adjustment. Don't let one sip turn you off. This is one of the better ones I've had.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, because before he put it in the mixer, just on the color alone, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be tussany. But no, it's really refreshing. I will say I like this better than the holiday seasonal pomegranate. There have just been so many great ones. This is really good, but it doesn't crack my top 5. Do I like this better than Chipotle pineapple? No, never. Or any of, like, the Halloween or other Christmas ones that they've done? No. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means there's so many other ones that I like better.
I'd say if it doesn't crack my top 5, it's debatable. It probably sits at, like, number 6.
All right.
But it's because I don't have a Chipotle pineapple that I,
Yeah,
that I
you
love.
don't have a default setting. True. That's very true.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's the margarita. Let's get into this month's Talk Topics.
This episode is sponsored by Hidden Mickey Supply Co. Products include Disney and Pixar-inspired 3D straw charms, ornaments, and personalized photo nightlights. Listeners of Monoreel Radio can get a 10% discount using the code Monoreel10 at checkout. Visit Hidden Mickey Supply Co. on Instagram and Etsy to stay up to date on all of the new releases.
All right. So, we're kind of pulling this one a way back.
Way back, yeah. And we're going to get right into what we've been up to, because unfortunately, we've not been watching anything. I've not seen a television for about 3 weeks. I've hardly seen you for 3 weeks. So all of those lovely shows that we were talking about in our year in review that we were like, oh, we got to get to that, still hasn't happened yet.
We still haven't finished Survivor and Amazing Race yet.
I know. We'll get there. And now we're into award season already, so, like, there's other movies and stuff I got to catch up on, too.
I know. I didn't get to see Song Sung Blue. I really wanted to see that. As somebody that is a lifelong Neil Diamond fan.
Kate Hudson is actually getting a lot of buzz for that, so that might be kicking around in theaters for a while. You're more than welcome to go see that while I'm working.
I may, you know what? I may see when it's playing on Monday, because I know you are not a Neil Diamond fan.
Nor a Kate Hudson fan, so this is a really, really hard sell for me.
There's that part of Mussolini that's in every Italian, and you don't like Neil Diamond. I can't believe it. There's something wrong about this. Anyway, that's the man you want. That him and Daryl Hall and John Oates. Those are the three. I don't understand it. All right, let's get on with what we were talking about. Yeah, we haven't watched anything because we really have. I mean, I don't think people. When I say this, it's not meant to sound like I'm talking down to anybody. I don't think people quite understand what this schedule has been for you, because even people that know us best and know what you do for a living can't seem to always grasp what's happening. I mean, you and I have literally seen each other. Forget, like, having a conversation. I would say over the course of the last month, we have seen each other collectively for less than 30 hours over the course of the last month.
Probably, thereabouts. No, it's been a lot of voice memos, compounded with your race weekend, too. It's not like we even had a full weekend at that point where we could catch up. And then the weekend prior, my family was here for New Year's, so we just haven't really... The little downtime that I've had, we haven't been able to even get it together enough where we've been able to do so. Like, this is the first day we've had to ourselves, which I'm not complaining, because it was wonderful seeing my family. It was great having them here for New Year's. It was such a great way to kick off what's going to be a very big year for us. So absolutely no complaints. And I love the project that I'm working on, so I'm not complaining about that either. But you're right. It is very hard to understand when you're not actually seeing the person go through it.
Yeah. So, all of that said, nothing being watched, jointly at least, which I guess is great, because if you and I want to catch up on our own shows,
Sure.
or in this case, our own movies, we can do that, and it's fine. Watch whatever you want.
But that also leads to why we are also sort of so behind with what we're getting to do.
Right.
I mean, like, in the few weekends or the few little days that we've gotten here and there, we're trying to make the most of them. But it took us until after Christmas to get to the Red and Green Coconut Club, which I'm struggling to even say out loud, because that's our favorite. We love it. I didn't even get to Universal for the Christmas season, really. Like, we did Grinchmas, but that was back in November before I started.
Right.
I didn't get to see the parade this year, unfortunately. That was like the most that I got to do for Universal's Christmas offerings, but we did it because I had the week of Christmas off.
Right.
And we went that following Saturday, right
Yes.
after Christmas?
Yes, it
Yeah,
was.
because then my family was here. So I'm glad we got to do it. Theming was very similar to last year with the ski lodge, Earl's Ski Lodge.
Yeah, here's my thing with the theming this year. I'm fine if you're going to do Earl's Ski Lodge every year. It's fun. And you can make it work. The problem with this year's theme, as opposed to last year was the projection snow globes, which look unbelievable. This year, until they explicitly told us what the theming was downstairs, I couldn't figure out what the theming was, and it just looked like they sort of went cheap. Once they explained what it was, and they played it hand in hand with the live performers, it was great. But you shouldn't have to explain it to me for me to appreciate what it is.
I mean, I noticed when we got in there, they had the on-air light, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's like we're gonna do a show. And then they had the trio performing, is it the American Sirens? Who, I mean, you'll recognize from everywhere, particularly Jollywood. One of them is always performing at Jollywood, but they're great because they do, just vocally, they sound like that 40s era USO show, and that's kind of what they leaned into here. Not the propaganda of it all, but it was sort of that 40s vibe, especially with the song choices that they picked, like Man with the Bag. They did like a 40s style rendition of I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Like, it was great, and they're always amazing. Like, they always put on such a great performance. But that, when they were not up on that stage, like, that was really the thread that tied it all together. Otherwise, it just sort of felt like they repackaged last year's Ski Lodge.
Well, their whole premise was they were up on the rooftop, because they were on the rooftop of the radio station. And Santa got stuck in the chimney. I jokingly said, that's a torso from Halloween Horror Nights.
That's not what you said at first. That's not what you said at first.
I'm keeping it clean.
I'm not. What you said was, hey, Jack, if they took off Santa's pants, and I said, yeah, because I had not a clue where you were going with that. But I absolutely think you're right. And particularly, my guess would be that it was from Terrifier.
Probably, which makes sense because they're going to reuse props. We've seen them reuse props from HHN in other avenues. I mean, they reused a prop from HHN this year in the tribute store. So, like, in the Christmas tribute store. So, they're going to do what it makes sense. But,
no, and I love when it is more overt, when you can sort of pick up on it and you can recognize it, because then it doesn't feel like, oh, look at us saving on the budget, you know?
Yeah. But, all that to be said, it was great when it was explained, and it tied in really well, and it was a lot of fun, and I did think Up on the Rooftop was a lot of fun. But I shouldn't have to work so hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you need to tell me what it is, you didn't hit it over the, you didn't hit it out of the park. So it was fun. The drink selection was great. The sirens are always great. But I do think last year had an edge.
I would agree with that. You did hit it right on the head, though. I was going to bring that up about the drink selection. Always outstanding, because no matter what your Christmas palette is, there is something for you. They always have some sort of like coquito offering, some sort of like pina colada style with like nutmeg, a hot toddy.
Yeah.
Like, there is something for every palate, and the beer selection was great too.
Yeah. So all in all, that was really good. And then we kind of had plans without plans, right? Because we said, well, what are we going to do next? We kicked around the idea of going into the park and trying some food offerings, but they didn't really have a lot for the Christmas season other than cookies and sweets.
It was a lot of sweets, and we wanted like a meal.
So we decided to check out NBC Sports Grill, because that was the day that the Pop-Tart Bowl was being played at Camping World Stadium. I didn't get tickets, so I wanted to watch the game anyway. And you had dined over at NBC Sports Grill for lunch, which I think is noteworthy.
Yes.
And, you absolutely loved it.
I really liked it for lunch, and I figured you would love it, because what I liked about it so much is that they have, in lieu of high top table, they have high top tables, but they're glass, and they're like over foosball or over air hockey. And I was like, with a group of people, this would be so much fun. And it's a good, it's a solid like pub menu.
Yeah, it's a very impressive menu on paper.
On paper. I don't know if it's that they were busy that night, or maybe they just do lunch better, or I don't know what it was. We really didn't have the best dining experience food-wise, but what's more was that it wasn't just us. That got doubled down on, because 2 people came back up to the bar next to us, and they needed their orders refired.
Yeah, so really good beer selection. Aesthetically, the place is cool. The bathrooms are on the second floor, which makes no sense that there are no bathrooms on the first floor. But at least they have an elevator that'll take you up, if you're ADA and you can't do the stairs.
Yeah. Especially because that's a really good thing to point out. It's not like Disney Springs, where if you can't get to a restroom in the restaurant, there's by and large one right outside anyway.
Right.
And it's easy to get to. Not that Disney Springs has a lot of like multi-tiered restaurants, but regardless, there's a bathroom outside of every restaurant essentially, where you could just go. Like if you're not seated yet and you're waiting in the foyer, you can run out and there's a bathroom close by. So it's not even like there's one outside as a backup offering.
Yeah. So we ordered the cheese curds, and they came out, and I thought, wow, these are really greasy. And the thing is, like, look, you're ordering cheese curds. I'm not ordering that because I'm looking for a healthy option. However, if they're sitting in a puddle of grease, it's not really a good sign. The cheese curds at Culver's are better than the cheese curds at NBC Sports Grill, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For about half the price. So then we ordered our entrees. I had done their jumbo hand-dipped chicken tenders and fries, and you had done the pulled pork plate.
Yeah, came with slaw and fries.
Right. So the food came out, and they were a little slow, but they're a big restaurant. They're busy. I'm not going to be mad that they were slow.
They were slammed.
They were slammed,
which is, we were kind of like, huh. Because is it that the food is that great that everybody's here, or are you falling behind because you're slammed and you're not prepared for it?
So, the food comes out. Yours looked good. Yours, I thought, from what I tried, yours actually tasted pretty good.
Yeah, mine was fine. The color, and I mean, I am not the chicken tendy connoisseur that you are, but I could tell from the color something was off. They were way too dark.
Yeah, I mean, they looked burned.
Not like blackened, but...
They looked burned.
Not like a light, airy, crispy tendy.
No, I'm like, these are going to be tree bark. And I paid the extra to go from 3 to... I think it was 3 to 4 or 3 to 5. Whatever it was, you pay a little more, you get a bigger order. I was hungry. I picked it up, and the breading started sliding off in my hand. And I took a bite, and it was soggy. And I grabbed another one, and I took a bite, and it was soggy. I grabbed the third, I took a bite, it was soggy. And every single one that I grabbed, the breading was coming off, and it was like glue in my fingers. So I put the plate down, and the French fries were ice cold. So I just kind of pushed it away. Typically, when you were a bartender, you would say, "I'm sorry, is there something wrong with that?" Or at least check in.
Or check back before that even happens.
The guy looked at the plate, he looked at me, he looked at the plate, he looked at me, and he walked away. And I went, "Oh. This has been happening all day because your oil is cold and it's dirty." Because the only way that it could be that dark is if it's dirty and it hasn't been cleaned in a while. And the only reason why it would be mushy is if it's cold. So he comes back and he looks at it again and he goes to walk away, and I was like, "Excuse me." And he was like, "Oh, is everything good here?" I was like, "No, man." He was like, "What's wrong?" And I picked up one of the chicken fingers, and I took my index finger and I ran it across the chicken finger and literally pulled all of the breading off in a big gloop on my finger. It looked like caulk. Like, you know, like when you're trying to like do that last edge of caulk and you get it in your finger.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like. And he was like, "Oh, sorry. You want me to get you another one?" And I was like, "No, I'm all right." Because already I'm like, the 3 bites that I took, it's not sitting anyway. So, you know, you could just tell, like, when you eat that much grease.
Yeah. Because
that's the thing. When it's cold, it doesn't cook in the grease. It absorbs the grease. That's why they're so mushy. So I'm like, I just had a mouthful of cooking oil. Like, no thank you, sir. I'd like a Tums if you have it. And then, to your point, the guy next to us had to return his food on the left. The guy on the right had to return his food. Somebody else had to return their food. So I'm not saying never again, but I'm saying no time soon. Certainly not for dinner.
Especially when there are other restaurants there that we love so much more, like Toothsome, which sometimes it's hard to get into, but like we love Cowfish. That's so easy to get, and the food is always great. I'm in no rush. Yeah, I agree. I would never say never again, but if we're going to go anytime soon, it's going to be because there's a game on, and we're going to go for a beer and maybe an appetizer. But, like, I'm not looking to burn a full meal there anytime soon.
No, that would be an okay spot. Like, Mardi Gras is coming up if there's a concert we want to see. But, like, to your point, there's a good game on, and we wanted to, like, hey, catch the Islanders are on an afternoon game, and it's national broadcast. You want to go catch half the Islander game, have some wings and some tater tots or something, and then go see Bare Naked Ladies, you know, like, we'll do that. But
the band,
yeah.
There's not a new addition. There's not a new addition to City Walk.
But I mean, if there was, it could easily replace NBC Sports Grill, in my opinion.
Be fine with that.
And yeah, well, didn't that say something? But yeah, I would try it again, but I'm in no rush. Something that I am in a rush for, but I don't want to wish my life away, I can't believe I'm saying it, is Marathon Weekend 2027. We just wrapped up Marathon Weekend 2026 6 days ago.
Oh, well, don't worry. Disney's going to be ready to take your money for 2027 Very soon.
I mean, I've got registration for Wine and Dine coming up next month.
Yeah.
Which is about average. So I'm thinking March or April would be the on sale. It might have been announced and I just have ignored it. But yeah, let's talk about Marathon Weekend. I want to start with saying, I've said this a lot on TikTok, but you may not follow us on TikTok. And if you're on TikTok, follow us. If you're not, that's okay. Maybe jump on and follow us anyway. But I'm going to give you my story. I was registered for the Goofy Challenge this year. As everybody knows, I did Goofy last year. I did Dopey the year before that. I did Goofy the year before that. And to make a long story short, I had nothing but injuries starting in June. A hip injury led to an Achilles injury, led to a hamstring injury. Somebody stepped on me at work, led to a toe injury. I slipped at work, led to a back injury. It was the year from hell when it came to training. So I was undertrained, admittedly, going into this race weekend.
And not just that, the weather was working again.
I want to pin that.
When you were feeling good, the weather was doing you no favors.
Yeah, let me pin that. I wanted to tell you all of that now because it'll make sense as I explain the marathon, and it'll explain my FU tour of 2026, which is what I'm calling 2026, because, forget Dopey, I'm going to be angry in 2027. So let's talk about Expo. The Health and Wellness Expo, I went on day one, and I'm so happy sitting here today versus where I was roughly a year ago today, where I was sitting here saying runDisney is something that I love, but it may be going, not by the wayside, but it may be something that's on restriction for me. Restricted by theme, metal, what have you, because Marathon Weekend last year, and specifically the Expo last year, was really, really poorly executed, and it was just not friendly to the runners. If you need a refresh, you can go and listen to our Dockside chat from last January. I don't want to have to tell you the story again. Going into this Marathon Weekend, I had renewed enthusiasm because they got it right for Wine and Dine. The Expo was great. It was well organized. And what made me really excited was we had heard from runDisney about a week before the Expo that for day one, and only for day one of the Expo, if you wanted the exclusive Dopey Challenge merchandise, you could only buy it if you had a Dopey bib. And I said, thank you, runDisney. Thank you, runDisney. You're listening. If you're not registered for the challenge, you shouldn't be buying the merchandise. I don't care if it's how you make your money. You're screwing the people that paid a lot of money, put in the miles, put in the effort, put their friends and family on the back burner so that they could earn this. You took it from them. I don't care if it's your business. It's wrong. And I think runDisney has done a great job becoming very user-friendly in the last year, because I think they saw where they fumbled the ball, and they're doing everything they can to get possession back and have us, as the runners who are paying a lot of money and doing the mileage, they need us to trust them again. And Wine and Dine, and specifically this weekend, were great starts to getting our trust back. So I went, not first thing in the morning, I went later on in the afternoon. I got there at around 1:30. Parking was easy. It was not the nightmare that it was at Wine and Dine, because they didn't try to reinvent the wheel at the last minute, because they learned from their mistakes. I got inside, and there was a long line for packet pickup, but it moved so quickly. I think I was on and off that line in less than 15 minutes, which was outstanding. That was to get the bib. When it came to get the t-shirt, it was less than 10 minutes and I was done. Last year, I waited on that line for an hour to get that t-shirt. Everything was just super, super efficient this year at the Expo. When you got inside to buy merchandise, they had a ton of sizes. Very little was out of stock. There was just a lot. So it's very clear that, again, they're listening, and they're making sure that they have enough merchandise so that they can accommodate everybody that wants to buy something. And I think that that was really important. Let's talk about the actual races. Like I said, I did Goofy, so I was not there for the 5K and the 10K. Arriving on site for the half on Saturday, super quick parking, super quick getting through security. The lines were moving for the characters. They had pretty good characters out that day, in the pre-race. And then they did something that I absolutely loved. And evidently, I spoke to somebody who's involved with runDisney. And I said, was this a test? And it was one of those I can neither confirm nor deny. They took, at least for Corral D, they halved it. So it was a lot more narrow. You didn't have the full left to right corral. It was halved. So that if you got there early, you were in the first half. If you decided to hang late, I had friends that decided, we want to go take some more character pictures, listen to the DJ, go to the bathroom, have a cup of coffee, grab some merchandise. I'm in no rush because I'm walking most of it anyway. And they ended up being in the back of the second half on the other side of the stanchion for Corral D. And what does that do? Well, that made it so that it was a lot more narrow and therefore a lot less chaotic, getting us from the corral to the start line. It moved everybody through quicker. From the first 3, 2, 1 go to us going off in D was 20 minutes. It was so fast. And when I think back on 2, 3 years ago, you'd be waiting 40 minutes to get off. They were so efficient. They were so quick. The only thing they needed to fix was the sound system, because we couldn't hear anything that was going on. The screens were there. We could see John and Carissa, and we could see everybody that was getting interviewed, but we couldn't hear anything pre-race. They had to turn the speakers up, but they figured that out the next day at the full.
That's good to hear, because you would think that by having a stanchion, it would bottleneck everybody.
No, it made it easier, because when you're in that wide corral and they start to pull the stanchion back to let you through,
everybody's going towards the opening.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it becomes like a trample situation, because some people just can't wait. And I ran with my friends, my chosen family, the WDW radio running team. Specifically, I ran with my friend Steve. And the gentleman I met this weekend, his name was Peter, wonderful guy. He was a veteran, so I thanked him for his service and continue to thank him for his service. And the three of us ran together. And really nice race conditions. We were done basically right as the sun was coming up, so it was comfortable. It was about 62 degrees when we went off, which is warm by January standards, but we knew this was going to be a warm weekend. But it was still very pleasant, and when 63 in the dark is not 63 in the sun, right?
No.
And it was just a really nice moment, because we were having a good time together, and we got to Magic Kingdom, and right as we were getting ready to turn to Main Street, Steve just taps me on the shoulder and he goes, get ready for the best part of the weekend. And we turn the corner and there's the castle. And the people, the atmosphere, this entire race weekend was unbelievable. If you came out and cheered, you're what got us there. Like, you were just loud. And, it was raucous. I felt like I was at a college football game. I don't know how much caffeine you people took in, but you guys were nuts. I mean, you were crazier than usual. And I think maybe that has to do a lot with when you look back on, when we first moved here and coming out of post-pandemic and Chapek and all the other things that were happening here. I know that there was not the cheery side of Disney. And, we talked recently about the heel turn that Iger has taken, which he has. I'm not going to apologize for it. But there's still a different sort of atmosphere here. And I think it's a better atmosphere than we had a few years ago.
This is one thing I think that the influencers got a hold of, and not the running itself, because filming yourself while you're running is an absolute hazard to those around you, and to yourself if you're not careful. But the influencers being part of the cheer squad, I think has shed a light on runDisney that nobody really knew existed. I think for the most part, if you happen to be here for Marathon Weekend, and that was just when you plan your vacation. To you, it's just like, oh wow, they're still running when the parks are open, and gee, I hope I can get over to my ride. I think that because some of the influencers had friends that are running now, and some influencers that are genuine runners, not just doing this for the clicks, I think that has sort of stepped it up, and now it's become like more of a thing. But of all years, when it was the loudest, and you know, when you really needed a push, I feel like such a deadbeat for not being there to support you.
Well, let me tell you this, though. You really didn't miss out on anything, because if you had gone to the boardwalk, which is probably where you would have gone for convenience, these early morning races, they call them quiet zones. So you're not really cheering. You're kind of just like standing there and like waving at people.
I know, but I still would have been there for the final push.
But
at least at the marathon.
Well, you've been through it. We don't need to rehash that. I gave you the out. Frankly, I'm glad you took it.
I'm running my own marathon right now.
No kidding. But you know, he said this is the best part, or you know, whatever. I'm kind of paraphrasing it here. But the thing is, that's the first time you see the castle in a runDisney race for the year. Because what people, I think, tend to forget is the runDisney race calendar starts with Wine and Dine. It doesn't start with Marathon Weekend. So Wine and Dine, you don't go to Magic Kingdom. You go to Magic Kingdom for the half during Marathon Weekend. I believe you go there during Princess. You go there during the full, and that's it. You otherwise do not go to Magic Kingdom. So you're twice, at best 3 times a year, running through Magic Kingdom. So this is the first time in the race calendar we get to see it. So that was just super magical AF. Disney picked some really weird songs to play to like pump us up. You know, the Bee Gees. I'm like, yes, How Deep Is Your Love is what I want to hear at, 5:45 in the morning to get me fired up. This is exactly what I want. But what was great was as we got back into Epcot, because you go Epcot, Magic Kingdom, and back. As we came back into Epcot, they had the Beach Boys, right? And Beach Boys came on, and it was Wouldn't It Be Nice? Not like fun or anything, but it's Wouldn't It Be Nice? And the thing is, everybody knows the words to Wouldn't It Be Nice? And because the Beach Boys are a 5-part harmony, everybody sort of knows what their range is living there. So you kind of can sing the Beach Boys, and if you have enough people around you, you all sound great, because none of you are out of tune. And just listening to, there was, I think, about 18 or 19,000 runners, but I'll say the 400 or 500 around us that knew what their range was and lived in the range and sang Wouldn't It Be Nice. It was just a great moment. We had a lot of fun. We went to Boma for breakfast after, because we love a buffet. We need a buffet. You're burning nothing but calories, and you're getting ready for the next day because you've got to run 26.2 if you're doing Dopey or Goofy. I have said in the past, I think Boma breakfast is fine. I think it's a little overblown. I hadn't been there in a while. My opinion is that Boma breakfast is fine. It's good. Would I eat it again? Sure, if I'm invited. Am I going to make a reservation to go there? Not necessarily. It's just fine. I don't necessarily see the big hype around it, because it's no different than any other restaurant that you can go and have a breakfast brunch. But our server, whose name escapes my mind, unfortunately, she was phenomenal. She was great. So it was all in all a nice experience. I was staying over at Endless Summer, my home away from home. I was lucky enough to be in bed early. I had brought pasta and chicken that I had made at home. I had it in the room just so that I could get an early sleep. Everybody else goes out and parties. I talked to you on the phone. I think I was asleep by about 6:45. So I got a full night's sleep so that I was ready to go for the full marathon. Now let's talk about the full marathon. It was cooler by a few degrees the morning of the full, as compared to the half. And for the first half, it was great. It was very, very temperate, low humidity. We got to about mile 14, and that's when the sun was coming up. And the projected temperature was about 87 degrees. Very, very, very warm for January here. and much warmer compared to the last 2 years. Unfortunately for us, they send us out at 4:30 in the morning because realistically they want you through Magic Kingdom before it opens, and I understand that. And I'm fine going off at 4:30 in the morning. If I'm being honest, I would have been good going at 4 in the morning. And maybe they'll do that next year. The problem is that when you exit Magic Kingdom and you start making the long trek to Animal Kingdom, you do Magic Kingdom parking lot. And they have to make up a lot of miles, which they did in Magic Kingdom parking lot. I don't think a lot of people took this into consideration. A lot of people were complaining. Why was there so much Magic Kingdom parking lot? Because there's no more Dino Land in Animal Kingdom. So you have to make up the miles somewhere. They made it up in Magic Kingdom parking lot because I don't think there's a place you realistically could do it otherwise. Problem is, there is no shade. It's a concrete jungle. And when it's hot like that, you're getting hit by the sun, and then the heat is radiating off the pavement.
Right.
So when you're doing all that backstage, en route to Animal Kingdom, where there's also no shade, because it's called Animal Kingdom hot for a reason, people start melting. You get out of Animal Kingdom. There's no real shade. It's a lot of pavement and narrow passageways. By about mile 17, I heard a lot of, medic on the left, move to center. And it would be medics on bicycles, because they do a really good job of having medical tents about every mile. But nobody is going to be convenient enough to pass out and collapse in front of a medical tent. They go down where they go down. So if they go down in between and they're a half a mile away from the nearest one,
what are you going to do?
And it was like every 5 minutes, to the point where, I saw some people go down hard, real hard. We got through Hell on Earth, also known as the Blizzard Beach parking lot. And after we exited that, an email had gone out from runDisney saying, due to hotter than normal temperatures for the safety of the runners and for the volunteers, which I appreciate too, because those people work so hard, they decided to cut off the Blizzard Beach parking lot and shave about 1.5 miles off of the full. We didn't benefit from that, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Ultimately, we finished. It was very, very difficult because I was undertrained. This is sort of where I pull the pin out. I was undertrained. The conditions were not favorable for at least half of the full marathon. But we finished. And that, to me, was a win in and of itself, which now gets me motivated for the FU Tour of 2026. I lost so much of 2025. I'm not going to let that happen again, and I am so excited and motivated to really start pushing to not only meet where I was fitness-wise when I ran Dopey, but to exceed it, because my plan is, so long as I can get a bib, to run Dopey again coming up in 2027. That's my goal, and I'm very, very excited for it.
Well, I'm just relieved that you finished. Because this was honestly difficult to watch, even though, I'm beating myself up over not being able to be there to cheer for you. But especially because this was so hard won for you. Like, when you're in peak physical condition and you know that you can do it, it's nice to just be there to support you and cheer you on and be part of all the fun. I feel bad because this was the year that you needed more support than anything, and it was so difficult watching how frustrated you are because, for as much as we will tear a movie apart if it's bad, or we'll complain about things that we don't necessarily agree with when Bobby Iges does not do things with the guest experience in mind, There are times where I'm sure that we come off as a little bit, I don't want to say entitled, that's the wrong word, but a little bit,
of thinking who you are, which is kind of entitled, but...
No, or just, what I'm trying to say is, by and large, you let things roll off your back. You don't complain about things ever, unless they are really, really bothering you. So... having to watch you get so frustrated because Like there were nights where you were like, all right, I'm going to bed early, I'm getting up early, I'm going on a run, and then I would wake up, and then you'd still be in bed, and I'd hear the rain on the roof, or
I couldn't physically move.
You couldn't physically move. Like, it was really hard watching you go through that. Because you're usually, like, you never complain about the work that you have to put in when you're training. You never complain about the early mornings. You never hit snooze. You never ask for the 5 more minutes. Like, you just go and you get it done and you put the work in. And that's, like when you do your videos and when you tell everybody, stay safe, stay hydrated, get your miles in, like, you do all of those things without missing a beat. It's just become so natural to you. And I think having watched you go through that for the past couple of years, I've just gotten so used to seeing it come so naturally. It's something I started like not even thinking about anymore, and something I guess I took for granted about how hard the work actually is. So to see you get so frustrated, it was just really difficult to watch, because it's like, there's nothing I can do to help you. I can't run the miles for you. I can't change the weather. There is nothing as your partner that I can do. Other than try to be supportive, but you're not usually one to beat yourself up, and you were over this. So it was just really difficult to watch, and like, it was even harder not being able to be there, because this was your hardest race.
It was the hardest thing I've ever done. This was harder than Dopey. This is harder than any other Goofy I've ever done. It was hard, but it was humbling, and in a way, as frustrating as I was, it's what's motivating me to fight back in 2026. I think sometimes a setback can be good for you, because you don't just fall back on your laurels, and you don't just fall back on, oh yeah, I'm in decent shape, so we can just do it all. I think sometimes a setback is good because it forces a restart, and I think it gives you new goals. Me running Dopey is not a new goal.
Right.
I've done it. It's not a new goal. But taking it the next step, shaving time off my runs, getting faster, getting leaner, getting stronger, focusing more on nutrition, it's a goal and it's a lifestyle change. And I'll tell you, had I not been injured, I wouldn't be saying any of this. I would have just been like, yeah, I'm doing it. And that would have been it. So sometimes a setback is bad, and you can look at it as bad, and certainly it was not great, but I'm taking it as a humbling learning experience, and I'm turning it into gasoline that I'm putting into the tank.
No, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, because this is the part that people don't see. It may seem extreme to be talking about 2027 already, but like, this is when you have to start thinking about it. It takes a year to get ready, but I'm really glad that you feel that way, because we also have big birthdays coming up this year, and that's not going to do you any favors either.
No, I can behave myself. I can be okay. But anyway, that was my marathon weekend 2026. Race-wise, it wasn't the race I wanted, but it was the race I got, and I still finished and walked away with a medal, and congratulations to all that participated. Whether you were able to finish or not, there are a lot of people that were in shape that couldn't finish because, you may live in the Midwest or in the, Pacific Northwest or in the Northeast up in Maine, and you're not used to this humidity, you're not used to this heat, and maybe your body wasn't ready for it, and you could have gone in ready to go with the best of intentions, and it may have gotten to you, and it's not your fault. Anybody that showed up that day to any of the races, you earned it. Congratulations.
Speaking of nutrition,
yeah,
your goals start next week.
I was really good this week.
You are. No, you are.
Super good this week, knowing that we were going where we were going for brunch today. And you probably think that means we went to Homecoming. No, we went and tried something brand new that we've had on our list for a long time.
Yeah, Summer House has been on our radar for quite a while for breakfast, particularly because if you've seen anything about it on social media, it's the Cinnabon. We've been there before. We've gotten coffee and cookies. But I think in the back of my mind, I was always like, why is this so popular? Like, it's not popular to the point where you can't get a reservation. It's actually a pretty easy reservation to get now that it's not so new anymore. But I was like, Gideon's has cookies. There's other places that you can get coffee. The menu is very nice. And, you know, it's got that California vibe of farm to table. It looks really nice. But I think where I was always sort of questioning it was it seems very trendy. And they play that, like, Hollister music. Like, you remember when you used to go to the mall and, like, the music would bleed out of Hollister to try and get you to go in the store?
By the way, I will live and die with the opinion that Hollister made some of the best clothes on the market because you could wear those clothes for a decade before they'd start wearing out.
That's what I'm saying. You had to get past the first impression of it to actually get in the store because face value, Hollister seemed like Abercrombie. Face value, Summer House seemed like everything that we didn't think we were going to like about STK, and our inkling on that was sort of correct. Like, we're just not, maybe it's us, but like we're not house music type of people.
No.
So when we walk past someplace and we hear we're like, Summer House is not quite that loud, but I just couldn't tell exactly what the theme was and what the draw was to compete with some of the other things that are here at Disney Springs. But then I started seeing the social media pictures of these Cinnabons, and I was like, all right, you know what? Let's try it. We absolutely love Raglan Road. We've still never done brunch there, but we've been a bit Raglan heavy lately. So we were like, let's change it up. Let's see what this is all about. And I just wanted, you know, I wanted a full day here with you just because we haven't seen each other. So I was like, that'll be a nice day, a nice brunch. We'll have a nice stroll, and then we'll record. But goodness, did we get more than we bargained for. I don't know if it's just that we've only ever got the cookies and sat out on the patio. The pictures that I've seen of the interior just don't do it a justice. It is absolutely gorgeously decorated. It's so light and airy, and like it really does capture that California feel, which, house music aside, like this was so much more my vibe than I thought it was going to be. And California, it's more my vibe than it is yours. So I was really happy that you enjoyed everything so much.
I thought the food was great. I mean, yeah, anybody that knows me knows that Florida's my vibe. California, not as much, outside of like being at the beach and being at Disneyland and Universal Studios, which is basically just the same thing as being here, really. By the way, one more thing on Hollister before I forget, because you know what, Hollister prepared us for Tommy Bahama. I'm just going to say that.
It was Tommy Bahama Light. Tommy Bahama Jr.
Yes,
yeah.
Right? Doesn't it make sense now?
It totally does.
But instead of Jimmy Buffett,
right.
We were listening to the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And then, not myself, because I was always a parrot head, but so many people matured and they grew up into Jimmy Buffett, but we still love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Anyway, that's a random thought, and you can agree or disagree. You'll agree. Summer House, interior decorated, I mean, it was absolutely phenomenal. It felt beachy. It felt beachy California, but not out of place in Florida.
Yeah.
The menu was bonkers. I thought the pricing was reasonable, especially once we got the tab. The pricing was very reasonable. And they do take the annual pass holder discount, which is refreshing.
That's always a pleasant surprise.
But we got the Cinnabon. This thing looked like it was going to be a cake.
A dense cake.
Yeah. And, I mean, when you put the knife in, it was like you let the air out of it. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that as in, this thing was so light and fluffy that looks do not do it a justice.
I was so pleasantly surprised because it says giant on the menu, but nothing that I have seen on social media does this a justice. It was comically large. We knew we wanted to split it, but we had decided as soon as it came out, we were like, we're gonna have to take this home. We're gonna have to box some of it up, and we'll have it the next day. But as soon as I put the knife in, It did shrink down a little bit where it was more manageable, but just looking at it, it really did. I thought they were baking you like a cake, and they were passing it off, calling it a Cinnabon because there was icing on it. It was light and airy, but still with that crust on the outside. The blueberries, the compote, all of that was phenomenal. The cream cheese, that's where it's really at. The cream cheese frosting, it balanced out the sweetness so nicely. They did like a lemon, a candied lemon on top of it.
Like a lemon zest, candied lemon zest, which is very vibrant and fresh.
It was such a balanced bite. It was excellent. I'm not going to say like it was so much lighter than I thought it was going to be, because as I sit here, I feel it. I feel what I did. I deserve what I get.
And we only ate half of it. We're taking the other half home.
We are taking the other half home. And they were so nice to box it. Like, she offered. She knew. Dialing it back, we also got coffee. Their coffee is excellent.
It was wonderful. Very rich and smooth.
Dare say I think the coffee is better than Gideon's.
Gideon's coffee is not that good. I don't care what anybody says. I think it stinks.
You know what it is? It's like mall coffee. Kids love it because you get the flavors and the sugar, and you think that you're drinking real coffee, but you're not.
You're having a milkshake.
But the
same thing goes for everybody that goes to Starbucks. You're not drinking coffee, you're getting a milkshake.
Frappuccino. No, Starbucks has coffee. You had your coffee black.
So good.
And I got the nitro cold brew, which was awesome. It was like a perfect cup of coffee. And then for my main course, if you will, I got huevos rancheros. Half of those are coming home with me. It comes with sunny side up eggs. Those I ate because those are not going to reheat. And guacamole, same thing. I ate that. That's not gonna carry over. But it was really, really good. That was a nice lighter option after the Cinnabon. Next time we go, because we will 1,000% be back, I'm trying the breakfast tacos. Sorry, I hear the song. She is so good. And I'm getting distracted because she's amazing. But anyway, yeah, the breakfast tacos, I really wanted to try those. Like, that was my intention as soon as I went in. But once I knew we were getting the Cinnabon, I was like, ain't no way this is happening.
I got the strawberry and waffles. These were the best waffles I've ever had in my life. It's basically a Belgian, and they just quarter it so you get the 4 pieces. And when I got it, I thought, oh man, this looks a little dark. Did they burn it? No. It was so crispy on the outside and light and airy and fluffy on the inside. Fresh whipped cream, locally sourced Florida strawberries. I didn't even use syrup because it was so flavorful. I never used the syrup.
You didn't.
Just berries and cream and a really good waffle.
Oh, you sound like the little elf who loves berries and cream.
It's berries and cream. Fantastic. Ordered scrambled eggs. They were scrambled eggs. Standard fare. The bacon is where it's at, though.
God.
It came out thick cut, well done. I didn't have to ask for well done bacon, but it came out well done, which I was very happy to see. And it was thick cut. It was borderline pork belly. It was crispy. It was beefy. It's pork, but we're gonna call it beefy. Like, it was flavorful. It was smoky. It's the best bacon I've ever had in my life.
Wow. Wow.
Straight up.
You've had a lot of bacon.
I've eaten a lot of bacon. That's why I won't be here at 49 years old to enjoy Monoreel while it lasts.
Oh my God!
It was the best bacon I've ever had, though. Really, really good. Like, you could just tell it's high quality. It's not Oscar Mayer. Not that there's anything wrong with it. That's what I make at home, but it's what I make at home when I get it on sale at the grocery store. This was a different level of quality.
Because it's not, and I mean, like, yeah, when you have it, we're also used to, like, bacon, egg, and cheese bacon. Like, you want a greasy breakfast sandwich when you have a breakfast sandwich. You want that bacon grease. This, it looked... Dry is the wrong word because that makes it sound like it was like jerky, and that's not what you want. But like it looked like perfection. But this is what I'm talking about. That California farm to table.
Yeah.
They just nailed it. And that's where I was kind of, I don't even think it's fair to compare to other brunches at Disney Springs, because I was like, what are you offering that, let's say, Boathouse is not? Or like, if you're going to Chef Art for brunch, you know it's going to be that Southern comfort cooking. And likewise with House of Blues, but I was like, what's the draw here? What keeps them open for brunch? Why is every seat full? It's just because it's like simple ingredients done right.
Yes.
I dare say, I won't compare it to the other offerings in Disney Spring because each is unique in their own right and each has a great brunch. I will stand 10 toes down. It's better than Topolino.
I will agree with that. I would certainly put it in my top 5 brunch locations at Walt Disney World, period. And, as we learned, they have a rewards program, which is free to sign up for. They're very generous with their points. We were able to sign up at the table and get our points for today, which you then can use at the cookie bar. You know, so it's like, hey, we've been through here a few times. I probably left about 30 points on the table, but you know what you know now. And so if you're planning on coming down and you know that's a place that you like, if you haven't signed up, I would sign up because the rewards don't expire. And, you know, which is important if you don't come very often, because I know a lot of people that's a deterrent. It's like, well, I'm not going to sign up because then I have an app on my phone and then the points expire and I can never use them. They don't expire.
That would have been me had we gone on vacation.
Right. But it just, all in all, just an absolute home run.
Yeah, get used to this because we will be back very, very soon.
Get used to this, too. Marvel trailers. Marvel trailers for Doomsday have been dropping weekly. You asked me a very interesting question today. It's a good time for this week's or this month's talk topic.
Well, okay, so admittedly, this is not what I thought the talk topic was going to be. I really thought we were going to be talking about the successor to Bobby Iges by this point, which
it'll drop
this
tonight.
week. It'll drop this week.
It'll be tonight.
I bet you. So have a good old laugh over that, listeners, in the future, the very near future. But I had posed a question to you because I had kind of thought this as I was watching it. I had asked if you thought that they were real. Part of it was because, in particular, the Captain America one, it looked a little AI-y to me. And I don't want to accuse Marvel of using AI, but, like, the baby looks kind of fake. I'm not going to lie. But what also kind of piqued my interest was that for Captain America and Thor, we have imagery and voiceover. So it's not like they're pulling other audio from other scenes to build out a teaser. It's just their inner monologue. So it kind of led me to believe that they're doing those teaser shoots as like a PR day. Because if you're not cutting from a scene, you need the actors back to do this. You're not going to pull them from set to go record this little video. That's not how there's like a PR day. And because it's a full voiceover, that's how it read to me. I also noticed that with at least Captain America and Thor, we're starting to see not necessarily a baton pass, but both of them have children now. We knew that Thor had a daughter from Love and Thunder, but now, you know, of course they let off with the Cap because it's like, is this when he went to return the stones? Is this an alternate timeline? You know, like it was meant to be buzzy, and it absolutely was. But I was like, all right, now we kind of have this familial theme that's happening here. And I was like, I don't know if I love that because you're losing that great man versus himself story, which was the Avengers' call to action. They're avenging a lot of them, like particularly when you think about like Black Widow and Hawkeye, they're avenging their wrongs of the past. They're trying to make something right. Thor avenging his family that he lost. Steve trying to, with the time jump, the world that he left behind, he's trying to make it right now. So, and Tony, he did a lot of bad things with his father's company. He's trying to make it right. So you're losing the man versus himself of it all, and now it's more of an external conflict because it's going to be in service of their family, which is fine. It's we're growing, we're evolving. This is relatable. This is what you deal with in real life. You grow, you reproduce, and you have a family to think about, sure. But I was like, something just still felt off. So then you get the trailer where it's Shuri and the Fantastic Four. Where does that all fit in necessarily? I mean, like, that was actually a very cool and unexpected plot twist that's your pairing, the Fantastic Four with Wakanda. And I was like, all right, you've piqued my interest, but you could also make the argument that ties back to the familial theme because Shuri has her nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, I think nephew, to worry about. And then obviously the whole premise of Fantastic Four was to save the baby, no matter how much peril they put it in. We're gonna break that down in a couple of weeks. We're gonna give Fantastic Four the full treatment. So it's like, all right, that checks your family box here. And then they go completely left and they introduce the X-Men in Doomsday with who is it? Patrick. Ian McClellan and
Professor Xavier.
Thank you. And they're talking about death. So you could manage to tie that back around to family because it's who they're passing the baton to. But I was just still bumping on them because I was like, we're not getting actual scenes playing out. Usually a teaser is like your big moment. It's, the editor flexing or whatever. And I was like, something about this just seems fake. And then the Russo brothers did confirm that these are not teasers, they're not trailers, they're clues. So I feel very validated because I feel like I'm onto something here. But they're going to toy with us for the next 11 months.
I think, they're clues, but they're trailers. I believe that these are real. I don't think they shot them in service of just making a trailer. I think that these are all characters that we're going to see play prominent roles. We've been building to this. They're teaser trailers and they're calling them clues. That's really what I think it is. I think they are trying to build hype into something that, for the most part, people are sort of tired of. I think that people are Marvel fatigued, and I think that they're trying to drum up interest. And I think that they're trying to drum up interest by saying, oh, they're not really trailers, they're clues. Guess what? You didn't waste money just to make a trailer. You didn't pay these people a day rate just to make a trailer. You didn't pay special effects artists and makeup artists just to make a trailer or just to make a clue. These are trailers.
No, that's all part of the marketing budget. But this is going to be very interesting to see how our conversations play out over the next 11 months because your team, they're just messing with us. I agree, they are messing with us, but I don't think these are the actual teasers. I don't think that we've seen anything that's actually in any of the films just yet. I think that's going to come when they introduce how the Thunderbolts play into all of this.
Well, we are interested in knowing what you have to say about our talk topic today. Are these clues? Are these trailers? Are they real? Are they fake? We're interested in knowing what you have to say about the Red and Green Coconut Club, if you went this year. How did you think it was compared to last year? Was it your first time there, and did you love it, or did you not understand it? Like, I was a little confused at first, despite the fact that I've been there many times. Did you run marathon weekend? Did you do any of the races? We'd love to know what your experience was. You can let us know on all forms of social media at Monoreel Radio, or you can email us monoreelradio@gmail.com. Let's give away a straw charm, courtesy of our good friends over at the Hidden Mickey Supply Co., and I am going to use the phrase fatigue. We're going to go with fatigue because it's relevant to Marvel and it's relevant to Marathon Weekend because I'm still tired.
All right, fair enough. But with that, I believe we have a Mjolnir straw charm. So that's the one that we're going to give away.
To the first person that DMs us or emails us the word fatigue. Like I said, monoreelradio@gmail.com or Monoreel Radio on all forms of social media. Thank you all so much for joining us this and every week on Monoreel Radio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and rate us on your podcast platform of choice. And to links to everything related to the show is going to be online at monoreelradio.com. For Jackie, I'm Sean. Have a magical week, everyone.